He drained our daughter's college fund. Every cent. Then vanished with his mistress. I should have collapsed right there. 22 years of marriage, gone in a single betrayal. But I didn't break. Not then. Because in the middle of my devastation, my 12-year-old looked at me with a smirk too old for her age and whispered, "Mom, don't worry. I handled it." The words haunted me, though I didn't understand them yet. Days earlier, everything unraveled. I had walked into our bedroom, the place where we once whispered dreams in the dark, and found Mark stuffing clothes into a suitcase. No explanation. No glance. Just frantic hands throwing shirts and pants into a bag like the walls were on fire. "What are you doing?" I asked. He didn't even pause. Didn't even look at me. What I should have done years ago. His voice cut through me like a blade. That was it. No warmth. No hesitation. Just finality. 22 years. The man I thought I knew. The father of my child. And this was how it ended. Me standing in pajamas, watching my husband pack like a fugitive. "Mark, stop." My hand clutched his arm. He shook me off like I was nothing. Like I was a stranger who had stumbled into his path. "Talk to me. Please." "What's happening?" He finally met my eyes. I wish he hadn't. What I saw terrified me more than anger or guilt ever could. Nothing. Just a cold emptiness. No regret. No love. Only determination. "I'm leaving, Sarah. Today." The room tilted. I couldn't breathe. Just last night we had been talking about Emma's college applications, laughing over dinner. Just last night, he kissed my forehead and said goodnight. Yesterday, I was a wife. Now? I didn't even know what I was. Is there someone else? The words escaped before I could catch them. For the briefest second, something flickered across his face. A crack in the mask. Then gone. This isn't about anyone else. This is about me needing to breathe again. But I knew. I'd known for months. The late nights. The phone always flipped face down. The distance in his eyes when I spoke. I had buried the suspicions so deep they hummed like background noise. Now they screamed. "Where will you go?" My voice came out small, fragile. "I'll figure it out." He zipped the suitcase shut with a sound that felt like the slamming of a door inside my chest. "I need you to transfer my half of the savings into my personal account." That's when the real panic set in. Money. Our savings. Emma's future. I tore out of the room, bare feet slapping against the hardwood. Downstairs, Emma sat at the kitchen table, spoon poised over a half-finished bowl of cereal. Her 12-year-old face pinched with worry. "Mom? What's wrong?" "Nothing, sweetheart." My voice cracked on the lie. "Dad's just going on a trip." Bitter words burned in my throat as I grabbed my laptop. Fingers shaking, I logged into our bank. My stomach dropped. Checking account, $247. Savings, 0. Emma's college fund. The account we had poured into every month for 12 years, the account that should have held $75,000 gone. Empty. "No," my whisper scratched against the silence. "No, no, no." I refreshed the page. Nothing changed. Transaction history confirmed my nightmare. 3 days ago, while I sat in book club, Mark transferred everything. Not half. Not his share. All of it. Our money. Our daughter's future. Hands trembling, I called the bank. The rep on the other end confirmed it without hesitation. Yes, the transfers were legitimate. Yes, Mark had full access. My knees nearly buckled. "Mom?" Emma's voice floated through the fog. She stared at me from across the kitchen, still in her uniform, dark ponytail neat, backpack waiting by the door. She had no idea her father had just stolen her future. The thud of footsteps on the stairs made both of us look up. Mark appeared with the suitcase dragging behind him. He didn't pause. Didn't flinch. Just walked past us like we were furniture. That's it. My voice was sharp now, steadier than I felt. 22 years, and you're just walking away? He stopped, hand on the doorknob. "I left you a voicemail, explaining everything." "I don't want a voicemail, Mark. Look at your daughter. Tell her why you're abandoning her." Emma stood slowly from the table. She didn't cry, didn't beg. She just stared at him with those sharp eyes that mirrored his. Mark looked at her for all of 3 seconds. You'll understand when you're older. Then back to me. Don't make this harder than it has to be. The door closed with a quiet click that sounded louder than a gunshot. We stood frozen in the silence that followed. The coffee maker hissed. The fridge hummed. Outside, a car engine roared to life, then faded down the street. Is he coming back? Emma asked softly. Every instinct screamed at me to lie, to protect her, to promise he'd return. But when I looked at her face, her knowing eyes, her steady posture, I realized she already had the answer. I don't think so, baby. She nodded once, like she was filing the information away. Then, did he take our money? The question punched the air from my chest. Some of it. I managed. My college fund, too? I couldn't speak. I just nodded. Emma rinsed her cereal bowl, dried it, and placed it carefully in the cabinet. Then she turned back to me. Her face was calm but different, older somehow. Mom, she said. Don't worry. I handled it. Her words stunned me, delivered so calmly, so matter-of-factly, that for a moment I almost laughed. Handled it? She was 12 years old. What could she possibly have handled? But her tone stopped me. There was no trace of childish bravado.
No empty comfort.
Just quiet confidence, like she knew something I didn't. What do you mean, sweetheart? I asked. Emma slipped her backpack over one shoulder, already heading toward the door. I'll miss my bus if I don't leave now. We'll talk after school, okay? And then she was gone. The house swallowed me in silence. It felt enormous, hollow, like it belonged to someone else. I stood there with questions I couldn't answer, staring at a future I couldn't even imagine. That first week without Mark, the house felt alive somehow, empty but watchful. Like the walls had absorbed the truth and were waiting for me to catch up. I cried at random moments, folding his abandoned laundry, finding his coffee mug still in the dishwasher, hearing Emma's alarm clock through the thin walls each morning. But Emma, she moved like nothing had changed. At 7:15 every morning sharp, she appeared in the kitchen, dressed, backpack neatly organized, lunch ready. She kissed my cheek and chirped, "Have a good day, Mom," in the same cheerful tone she'd used back when we were still a family.
It unsettled me.
One morning, as she reached for the doorknob, I caught her wrist gently. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" She stopped, looked at me with those dark, serious eyes. "I'm fine, Mom. Are you?" I wasn't fine. I was unraveling, piece by piece. But I couldn't admit that to her. "Just checking on you." "I know." She squeezed my hand once, then pulled away. "But I'm really okay." That night, I called my sister Janet. I needed someone to tell me how to do this, how to be strong for my daughter when I was falling apart. As I dialed, I heard Emma upstairs. Rapid clicking carried down through the floorboards, her fingers flying across the keyboard. I assumed she was chatting with friends, unloading her feelings in the only way kids could now, through screens. "Sarah? How are you holding up?" Janet's voice was warm, steady. "I don't know," I admitted, sinking onto the couch. "Emma's being so strong, but I'm worried she's bottling everything up. She hasn't cried once." "Some kids process differently," Janet reminded me gently. "Remember when Dad left? You cried for weeks." I got angry and broke Mom's favorite vase. The clicking upstairs stopped. A long silence. Then resumed, harder, faster, more deliberate. "What's that sound?" Janet asked. Emma on her computer. "Probably homework. Or games." The words came easily, but doubt slid beneath them. The rhythm wasn't playful. It was purposeful. Later, after hanging up, I made Emma's favorite dinner, grilled cheese with tomato soup. At 6:30, I knocked on her door. "Come in," she called. I pushed the door open with a tray in my hands. She was at her desk, laptop angled just enough to shield the screen from view. The moment I entered, she snapped it closed. "Brought you some food, honey." "Thanks, Mom." She didn't look at me, just took the tray. You can set it on my nightstand. I set it down, stealing a glance at her desk. Papers scattered neatly. Her planner. A couple of textbooks. Nothing unusual, but the arrangement was precise. Too precise. As if staged for me to see. What were you working on? I asked casually. History report. Industrial Revolution. She flipped open her laptop again. For the briefest second, before she minimized the screen, I saw it. Not a Word doc. Not a school project. An email inbox. Need any help? I asked. I'm good. Thanks for dinner.
Polite.
Final. I kissed her head and left, but unease followed me down the hallway like a shadow. Over the next few days, the routine continued. Emma, steady, composed, flawless. Me, spiraling deeper into confusion and grief. Panic attacks woke me at 3 a.m. I checked our bank accounts obsessively, called Mark's number just to hear the voicemail. Meanwhile, Emma slept soundly, or so I thought. Every night, the typing continued upstairs, sometimes until nearly midnight. Then Friday evening came. I was putting away her clean laundry when I noticed it, a single sheet of paper on her desk, half hidden under a science book. I shouldn't have touched it, but something about the formatting caught my eye. An email thread. Printed out. I froze. My blood turned to ice. The names at the top, Mark and Rebecca. My hands trembled as I pulled the page free. The messages were dated 3 weeks earlier, before Mark had left. They spoke of hotel reservations, meeting times, and one chilling line about handling Sarah when the time came. I sat down hard on her bed, the paper shaking in my grip. My 12-year-old had accessed her father's private emails. But how? Mom. Her voice made me jump. She stood in the doorway, holding her empty dinner plate. No panic. No embarrassment. Just calm, assessing eyes. Emma, where did this come from? She closed her bedroom door and set her plate down. Dad's not very good with passwords. How did you? I started, then stopped. How long have you known? About Rebecca? 6 weeks. My heart lurched. And about the money? I figured that out the day before he left. 6 weeks. 6 weeks my daughter had carried this knowledge in silence, while I stumbled blindly through a collapsing marriage. I felt sick. Why didn't you tell me? My voice cracked as I looked at her. Emma sat down beside me on the bed. For the first time that night, she looked her age. 12, small, fragile, with a hint of fear in her eyes. I wanted to be sure, she said softly, and I wanted to figure out what to do about it. I shook my head. Honey, this isn't your responsibility. Yes, it is. Her tone hardened. She met my eyes, unflinching. He stole my college fund. He lied to both of us. Someone had to do something. Her words hit me with a force I wasn't ready for. I looked around her room, at the neat desk, the perfect routine, the calm composure she'd carried all week. Suddenly, none of it seemed innocent. None of it seemed normal. What else do you know? I asked carefully. Emma stood, reached under her mattress, and pulled out a spiral notebook. Without hesitation, she handed it to me. The pages stunned me. Notes in her small, precise handwriting. Printed screenshots. Diagrams I couldn't understand. Lists of numbers that looked like phone numbers, maybe account details. Emma, what is all this? Research. She sat back down, as steady as if she were explaining a school project. Dad thinks he's smart, but he's careless. Same password for everything. Doesn't clear his browser history. Doesn't even log out when he's done. I flipped through the notebook, my stomach tightening. Financial records. Screenshots of text messages. Travel itineraries. My daughter, 12 years old, had been running surveillance on her father. I struggled to breathe. This is incredible. And terrifying. She shrugged lightly. I learned most of it from YouTube tutorials. Computer security is actually really interesting once you understand the basics. Emma, this kind of thing, hacking into someone's accounts, it's not legal. Her expression didn't waver. It was too old for her young face. Neither is stealing $75,000 from your daughter's college fund. Her bluntness chilled me. This wasn't the little girl I'd kissed goodnight every evening. This was someone else, sharp, calculating, fearless. What are you planning to do with all this? I asked. She pulled the notebook back, closed it carefully, as though protecting evidence. I'm still working on that part.
But don't worry, Mom.
I've got this handled. The same words she'd said the morning Mark left. But now, they carried a weight that made my chest ache. Did I even know my daughter anymore? Show me everything, I said, forcing my voice steady. For the first time, she hesitated. Mom, some of it's pretty bad. Show me. Emma opened her laptop. A folder sat on the desktop, disguised as science fair project. Inside, dozens of subfolders, financial records, communication logs, identity theft evidence. My stomach clenched. It started with Dad's second phone, Emma explained, clicking open a folder. He thought he hid it in his closet. But one night, I saw him checking it when he thought I was asleep. The screen filled with blurry photographs, Mark, captured through a crack in the bedroom door, texting on a phone I'd never seen before. I waited until he left it charging in his office one day. I only had 10 minutes, but I got into his messages. That's how I found Rebecca. Her fingers danced across the keyboard, practiced and sure. A new window appeared. Screenshot after screenshot of texts between my husband and another woman. His words gutted me. He spoke of me like I was an obstacle, a problem to solve. Together, they were planning a future, planning how to handle the Sarah situation without losing too much in the divorce. I thought I might be sick. It gets worse, Mom. Emma clicked to another folder. Rebecca Sterling works at Dad's accounting firm. She manages client investments and trust accounts. You found out where she works? I found out everything. Emma's voice was flat, detached. Address, family, work history, credit score, even her Netflix password. Her casual tone made my skin crawl. She's been stealing from clients for 2 years, Emma continued. She opened documents that left no room for doubt. Bank transfers from client accounts into Rebecca's personal ones. Fake invoices. Investment reports that didn't match reality. I stared in disbelief. Emma, how did you even get into her systems? She uses the same password for everything. Sterling 2011. Last name, graduation year. I found it on her LinkedIn profile. Emma shrugged like it was obvious. People are predictable. I looked at her. My daughter, my stranger. But how did you learn this? My voice cracked. YouTube. Forums. There's a lot of information if you know how to look. She clicked another folder. My vision blurred. Bank statements with my name, but accounts I'd never opened. Credit applications under Emma's social security number. Loan documents signed with forged signatures. Mom, she said quietly. Dad didn't just take our money. He's been using our identities to get loans. My throat closed. The $75,000 from my college fund? Her jaw clenched. That was just the down payment on a $200,000 loan he took out in my name. What? The word fell out of me, barely audible. He and Rebecca are buying a house together. In Florida. They used my credit history and your employment information to secure the mortgage. Her eyes burned with anger. They were going to disappear. Leave us holding the debt. The room spun.
Fraud.
Identity theft. He hadn't just abandoned us. He had buried us. He had destroyed our future to build another with her. But before despair could crush me completely, Emma's voice cut through. But here's the thing, Mom. And for the first time, I heard something new in her tone. There was something in her voice. Cold. Satisfied. I caught them before they could close the deal, Emma said. She clicked open a folder on her laptop labeled countermeasures. My breath caught when I saw what it held. Dozens of files, fraud reports submitted to credit bureaus, official complaints to banking regulators, anonymous tips to Rebecca's firm.
It was a war chest.
A weaponized archive. I've been working on this for 3 weeks, Emma explained. Her tone was steady, almost clinical. First, I documented everything. Then I started dismantling their plans. Piece by piece. What do you mean? My voice was barely a whisper.
She didn't hesitate.
Rebecca got suspended from work yesterday. Her boss received an anonymous email with proof of her embezzlement. Clients are pulling their accounts. The state board just launched an investigation. I stared at her, stunned. My jaw actually dropped. You did that. Emma's face hardened. She stole from elderly people saving for retirement, Mom. She deserved it. Her words were sharp, final, and terrifying. And that's just the beginning. She showed me more. Screens flashed past, frozen credit reports under my name, denied mortgage applications under Rebecca's, flagged accounts under Mark's. Even Rebecca's landlord had received an anonymous report, and eviction proceedings had already started. But then Emma's eyes darkened, and she opened a final folder. The best part, she said, was what I sent to her father. Her father, Dr. Robert Sterling, a respected surgeon, a man obsessed with family reputation. He'd received a packet of his daughter's crimes, anonymously, of course, complete with dates, records, and evidence that could end her career. I felt dizzy. Emma, what have you done? I've protected us. She closed her laptop slowly, deliberately, then lifted her gaze to mine. Her eyes burned with quiet fire. Dad thought he could rob us and disappear. He thought we'd crumble. He thought we'd be too broken, too weak, too stupid to fight back. She shook her head. He was wrong. But sweetheart, going after people like this, it's dangerous. My voice cracked, fear clawing its way out. Emma stood, her small frame silhouetted by the fading light at her window. More dangerous than letting them destroy us? She asked. Mom, they didn't just steal money. They took my future. They took your security. Everything we built. Everything you worked for.
Gone.
Handed to themselves. I swallowed hard, watching her. My 12-year-old daughter. Fragile body. Immense will. She wasn't wrong. While I was crumbling, begging Mark's voicemail for scraps of his voice, Emma had been fighting a war I hadn't even seen. What happens now? I asked softly. Emma turned. In the dim glow of her desk lamp, she looked older than her years. Hard, focused, relentless. Now we wait. Rebecca's world is unraveling, and she doesn't even realize why yet. When Dad figures it out, he'll panic. And when people panic, they make mistakes. Her calmness scared me more than anything. How can you be so steady about this? She gave me a small, almost eerie smile. Because I'm not the one who has to be scared anymore. They are. That night, I lay awake. Emma was sleeping down the hall, but sleep wouldn't come to me. She had saved us. But at what cost? What had she become in the process? And worse, what else was she capable of? Around midnight, I heard it again. That soft, steady clicking. Keys tapping with relentless focus. Emma was still awake, still planning, still protecting. My daughter was fighting for our survival in ways I couldn't understand. I should have felt grateful. Instead, I felt afraid. The phone rang at 2:15 on Tuesday afternoon. I was in the kitchen, rinsing lunch dishes. The soapy water still clung to my hands when Mark's name lit up my phone. My heart jumped. My chest tightened. My fingers fumbled with the slippery device. Hello. My voice sounded smaller than I meant it to. Sarah. Mark's voice was raw.
Strained.
Desperate. We need to talk. Something's happening. Something strange. I dried my hands quickly on a dish towel, glancing toward the living room where Emma sat, pretending to do homework. What kind of strange? I asked carefully. My bank called this morning. All my accounts have been flagged. Frozen. They're under federal review. His words tumbled out fast, jagged with panic. And Rebecca, he swallowed audibly. She lost her job yesterday. Security walked her out. Fired on the spot. Emma appeared in the kitchen doorway.
Come.
Still in her school uniform. She poured herself a glass of water with deliberate quiet, but I saw it. Her ears tuned to every word. I don't see what that has to do with me. I told Mark, though my chest was already tightening with dread. It's too much to be coincidence, Sarah. Rebecca accused a coworker at first, but no. Someone's targeting us. Someone with real skills. Emma set her glass down, then opened her laptop at the table. The glow lit her face as her fingers moved with startling speed. Windows opened. Streams of data scrolled past. Who would do that? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Deep down, I already knew. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Mark's voice shook. Rebecca thinks it might be someone from her office. Maybe a coworker she rejected, or... He cut off suddenly. What was that sound? Emma pressed something on her keyboard. A faint chime echoed, not in the room, but through the phone. What sound? I asked, my blood going cold. There was a beep, Mark said, panic rising. Like someone just opened my email. Sarah, his voice broke into alarm. Someone's in my computer right now. I can see it happening. My emails are opening and closing in real time. Someone's reading my messages while we're talking. Emma's hands kept moving.
Calm. Silent.
Relentless. Her fingers played the keys like an instrument. And in that moment, I knew Emma's fingers danced across her keyboard. Smooth. Fluid. Like she'd been training her whole life for this moment. The screen glowed with layers of windows, emails, financial records, streams of data moving faster than I could process. She was inside his system, watching him, reading him, controlling everything. Mark, I said carefully, maybe you should hang up and call your bank. No, wait. His voice cut sharp, paranoid now. I need to ask you something directly. I froze. Sarah, did you hire someone? Suspicion seeped through every word. A private investigator? A hacker? Whoever it is, you need to call them off.
Right now.
What they're doing, it's illegal. Emma lifted her head, met my eyes, and gave the slightest shake.
Don't.
Then, without a word, she went back to the keys. I didn't hire anyone, I told him, and for once, I wasn't lying. Then who? His voice broke off. I could hear frantic typing on his end. Someone just sent an email from my account. To my boss. Sarah, they're impersonating me right now. My pulse spiked. What did it say? I don't know. It's too fast. Everything's happening too fast. His breath rasped through the receiver, uneven and panicked. Now they're in my social media, posting things. Private conversations between me and Rebecca. Financial documents. Screenshots. God, Sarah, they're making it all public. Emma minimized one window and opened another. I caught a glimpse. Profiles, uploads, damning evidence spilling into the world before she angled the screen away. Mark, if someone's hacking you, call the police, I said. You think I haven't tried? His voice cracked with hysteria. They told me if the documents are authentic, it isn't harassment, it's whistleblowing. Sarah, don't you get it? They have real records, real transactions. The only way they could post that is if they're inside my accounts.
He stopped.
Silence stretched across the line. The realization hit him. This isn't fake. His voice dropped, defeated. This is evidence. Mark. My throat was tight. Listen to me. The money I took, it wasn't permanent. I was going to put it back. Rebecca had an investment lined up. Guaranteed returns. We just needed startup capital. 6 months, that's all. Then I was going to replace every penny. No one was supposed to get hurt. Emma's eyes lifted from her screen. Her face was unreadable. No anger. No sorrow. Just calculation. Cold and sharp. She was watching her father spin lies, and she was documenting every word. Mark, I said quietly, you don't get to call it a loan. You stole from us. From your daughter. You don't understand. His voice cracked. The pressure I was under. Rebecca's father threatened to cut her off if she couldn't prove she was independent. She needed the house. She needed that money. I had to help her. I clenched the phone. My chest burned. So you stole our daughter's future to impress your mistress's father? It wasn't stealing. His denial came desperate, broken. It was an investment in all our futures. Rebecca's family has connections. Once her father accepted us, he was going to help me start my own firm. We would have been wealthy, Sarah. More than wealthy. Emma's college? Paid for 10 times over. Beside me, Emma closed her laptop with a sharp snap. She stood, walked to me with measured calm, and reached for the phone. "Hi, Dad." Her voice was steady.
Cold.
Too calm for 12.
Emma.
His tone shifted instantly, almost pleading. "Sweetheart, thank God. Someone's doing terrible things to me and Rebecca. They're making us look like criminals.
You have to believe me.
I would never steal from you, but you did." Her reply landed like a knife. Simple.
Flat.
Undeniable. "You took $75,000 from my college account, and you used my identity to apply for a mortgage in Florida." The silence on his end stretched long enough to make my skin crawl.
Emma. Who told you that?
No one told me. Her voice didn't waver. "I found it. I have copies of the loan application with my social security number. Copies of the forged documents. Copies of your emails with Rebecca." "That's impossible," he stammered. "You're 12. You couldn't possibly understand. I understand you committed identity theft. I understand Rebecca embezzled from her clients. And I understand you both plan to disappear and leave us holding the debt." "Emma, listen to me. Adults make complicated financial decisions. What looks wrong to you? I have everything, Dad. Every transaction. Every forged signature. Every message you thought was private." I watched her, frozen. She was too calm. Too precise. Mark's breathing grew ragged. "Emma, what do you mean? You've been watching me?" "It means I know about the second phone you hid. I know about the fake investment accounts Rebecca set up to cover her thefts. I know about the house in Florida." Her tone didn't rise.
She didn't shout.
She simply stated facts, each one cutting him deeper. "And I know Rebecca stopped taking your calls when the money ran out." Mark's voice cracked. "How could you know that? How could you possibly know she isn't answering me?" "Because I'm monitoring all your communications. Texts.
Calls.
Emails. I've seen everything." She paused, then delivered the blow with surgical precision. "Rebecca blocked your number yesterday. After her father cut her off. She's already seeing someone else." The sound that came through the phone wasn't a voice anymore. It was a raw, broken noise. Somewhere between a sob and a scream. "Emma, please," Mark choked. "I know I made mistakes, but I'm still your father. I love you. I love your mother. I never meant for things to go this far." Emma's reply was steady, almost clinical. "You chose her over us. You chose money over your family. You chose to steal my future to fund your new life." Her words landed like stones.
No anger.
"Just truth. Actions have consequences," she continued. "You taught me that yourself. The night you walked out of our house with your suitcase, you made your choice. And this is the consequence." "Emma, I'm begging you." Mark's voice cracked into desperation. "Whatever you've done, whatever you think you know, please stop. I have nothing left. I'm living in my car. I can't pass a credit check. I can't rent an apartment. Every background check shows financial fraud. I can't get work. Please, I'm ruined." Emma looked straight at me as she spoke her final words to him. Her face was calm, unflinching. "You taught me something important, Dad. You taught me that the people who are supposed to protect you sometimes don't. So you have to protect yourself." And then she hung up. The silence that followed was thick, oppressive. Like the air itself was listening. Emma set the phone on the counter and turned to me with those serious eyes that seemed older than her 12 years. "He won't call back," she said flatly. "How do you know?" My voice was barely a whisper. "Because now he knows I'm watching. And he knows that every move he makes, I'll see it coming." She picked up her laptop and walked down the hall. "I have homework." And just like that, she was gone. I stood frozen in the kitchen, the phone still heavy in my hand. My daughter had dismantled her father's life with the same calm precision most kids use to finish a math worksheet. Part of me wanted to scream at her, tell her to stop, undo whatever damage she'd unleashed. But another part of me, a part one almost didn't recognize, felt pride. Fierce, guilty pride. Because she had done what I couldn't. She had protected us. The next morning, Emma sat at the breakfast table like any other middle schooler. Cereal. Backpack check. A quick kiss on my cheek. As if the night before had been just another Tuesday. Emma, wait, I said, catching her arm before she walked out the door. Are you okay? She tilted her head, thoughtful.
I'm fine, Mom.
Why wouldn't I be? Because of what happened. With your father. What about it? Her expression didn't flicker. Sweetheart, that was intense. It's normal to feel upset. Or confused. I'm not upset, she cut me off. She adjusted her backpack.
I'm relieved.
He knows I know what he did. And he knows there are consequences for stealing from his family. I swallowed hard. But don't you miss him? Even a little? She paused at the door. Hand on the knob. I miss the dad I thought he was. But that man wasn't real. He was just a character Dad played when it suited him. The matter-of-fact way she dissected her own feelings chilled me.
No anger. No grief.
No fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, her father would apologize and come home. Emma, I whispered, I think you should talk to someone. A counselor. Someone who can help you process all this. I'm not having big emotions, Mom, she said calmly. I'm having appropriate emotions. Then she opened the door. But if it makes you feel better, I don't mind talking to someone. After she left, I sat in silence, my hands trembling. I called our pediatrician. Dr. Martinez recommended a psychologist, Dr. Patricia Reeves. She specialized in family trauma and gifted children. Gifted kids process things differently, Dr. Martinez explained gently. They often analyze emotions instead of feeling them. Dr. Reeves will help. The appointment was scheduled for the following week. Until then, I found myself watching Emma with new eyes, studying her, trying to solve her like a puzzle. Her routine never faltered: school, homework, helping with dinner. But beneath the normalcy, I noticed subtle changes. She had taken control of our finances, built spreadsheets that tracked every dollar of our reduced income, calculated projected expenses for the next year. She researched legal aid, compiled a folder on divorce proceedings and asset recovery. Mom, you need to file for divorce immediately, she told me one evening, sitting across the table as I sorted bills. Every day you wait gives Dad more time to hide assets or build debt in your name. Emma, these are grown-up concerns, I said softly. You don't need to carry this burden. Someone has to, she answered, steady and calm. You're depressed. It's understandable, but it's not productive. I'm not depressed. I can think clearly about what comes next. Her assessment cut deep, because it was true. I had been drowning, hoping the nightmare would just fix itself. Emma was the one actually fighting for us. When the day came, I drove her to Dr. Reeves's office. The space was soft, painted in calming blues and greens. Children's artwork covered one wall, the kind of place meant to soothe fragile minds. I expected Emma to be nervous,
Shy.
maybe a little scared. Instead, she walked in with her chin high, posture straight, like she was heading into a business meeting. Emma, the therapist greeted warmly. I'm Dr. Reeves. Dr. Reeves gave Emma a warm smile. Your mom thought it might be helpful for us to talk, to process some of the changes in your family. Emma nodded, calm as ever. That's fine. I understand this is probably mandatory after what I did to my father. The therapist blinked. That wasn't the kind of opening line you expect from a 12-year-old. Can you tell me about that? And for the next 45 minutes, Emma laid it all out, step by step, like she was giving a school presentation. She described finding Mark's second phone, discovering his affair, documenting the theft of her college fund, tracing forged accounts, exposing Rebecca's embezzlement, then dismantling their lives piece by piece. She didn't raise her voice, didn't break down. She presented facts like she was reading a weather report. Precise, controlled, detached. And how did that make you feel? Dr. Reeves asked gently, satisfied. Emma answered instantly. He stole from me, so I made sure there were consequences. It felt like justice. The therapist tried again. Do you ever feel sad about your father leaving? Emma thought for a moment. I feel sad that he became the kind of man who steals from his own child. But I don't feel sad that he's facing the results of his choices. When the session ended, Dr. Reeves asked me to step into her office while Emma waited in the lobby. "Mrs. Patterson," she began, her voice careful, deliberate. "Your daughter is remarkable. Her intelligence is well above average. And her emotional resilience, extraordinary. But is it healthy?" I asked quietly. "Should a child be able to do all this without guilt? Without trauma?" The doctor leaned forward, folding her hands. "Trauma manifests in many ways. Some children collapse under it. Others, particularly gifted analytical children, seize control of their environment. It's a survival mechanism. Emma has faced betrayal and abandonment. She's processed it in a functional way, more functional than most adults I see. So she's okay?" "She's more than okay," Dr. Reeves said. "She's adapted. The real question isn't whether she's all right. It's whether you're comfortable with who she's becoming." That night, I found Emma in her room. She was on her laptop again, typing quickly. I braced myself for surveillance logs, code, or hacked accounts. But what I saw wasn't any of that. On her screen was a document titled "Digital Safety for Families, Warning Signs and Protection Strategies." "What's this, sweetheart?" I asked. Emma looked up. "I'm writing a guide for kids whose parents might be stealing from them, and for adults who don't know how to spot fraud before it's too late." She scrolled through pages of detailed advice on password security, recognizing forged documents, protecting sensitive information. It was clear, structured, thorough. My heart swelled and ached at the same time. My daughter wasn't just surviving what Mark had done. She was transforming it into something that could help others. "Emma, this is incredible. Where did you learn to write like this?" "I've been researching family financial fraud for weeks," she said simply. "It's more common than people realize." She clicked save. "Mrs. Henderson at school asked me to present this to the PDA next month. Apparently, 3 other families in our district have dealt with missing money and identity theft." I stared at her screen, at her words, at this strange, brilliant, resilient child who had lived through hell and turned it into armor. "How do you feel about presenting to adults?" I asked softly. "Nervous," she admitted, "but excited. Most people don't realize how easy it is to protect yourself if you know the warning signs." She closed her laptop and studied me. Her eyes were sharp, but vulnerable. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Are you ashamed of what I did to Dad?" The question cut straight through me. Ashamed? I shook my head. "Emma, you saved us. You did what I couldn't. You protected our family. But you've been looking at me differently," she pressed. "Like you're worried." I sat beside her on the bed, choosing my words carefully. "I'm not worried about what you did. I'm worried about what it cost you. What you accomplished was extraordinary, but it forced you to become harder than any child should have to be." She tilted her head. "Do you think I'm damaged?" "No," my answer was immediate. "Fierce. I think you're stronger than I ever imagined possible. But I also think that strength came at a price. And I want to make sure you're okay with who you're becoming." For the first time in weeks, she leaned against me. Just a girl. My girl. Small, warm, familiar. "I don't feel damaged, Mom," she whispered. "I feel like I finally understand how the world really works. And once you understand something, you can protect yourself from it." I brushed her hair back from her face. "And what about protecting others?" "That's why I'm writing the guide. If I can help other families avoid what we went through, then maybe something good came out of Dad's choices." Later that night, as I tucked her in, she asked one last question. One that broke me and filled me with pride at the same time. "Do you think Dad ever really loved us?" I sat on the edge of her bed, my throat tight. "I think he loved the idea of us. But when loving us became inconvenient, he chose himself instead." That's what I thought too. She pulled her stuffed elephant closer. "Good night, Mom." "Good night, sweetheart." I turned off the light, stood in the hallway, and let Dr. Reeves's words echo in my mind. Maybe Emma wasn't broken. Maybe she was exactly what she needed to be to survive in a world where even the people you trust most can betray you. Maybe I wasn't raising a damaged child. Maybe I was raising an extraordinary young woman, one who would use her strength to protect others, the same way she had protected me. 6 months later, I was shelving books in the children's section of Millbrook Community Library when my supervisor walked up with a nervous expression. "Sarah," Linda whispered, leaning in close at the library circulation desk. "There's a reporter here asking about your daughter." Her eyes flicked toward the front desk. A woman in a sharp navy suit stood waiting, notepad in hand, her expression composed, professional. My pulse spiked. My throat went dry. "What kind of reporter?" I managed. "She says she's investigating the Rebecca Sterling embezzlement case. Apparently, someone tipped her off that the anonymous whistleblower might be connected to our area." I forced my legs to move, each step heavier than the last. At the desk, the woman extended her hand with a polished smile. "Mrs. Patterson?" "Jennifer Walsh, Channel 7 News. I'm doing a follow-up on the Sterling financial scandal. I understand your ex-husband was involved." My breath caught. "I can't comment on that," I blurted. Too fast. Too defensive. "The story's gaining national attention," she pressed. "Rebecca Sterling is facing federal charges. Several new victims have come forward. Someone was incredibly thorough in documenting the crimes. We'd love to thank whoever provided the evidence." Her eyes searched mine, but I held the silence until she finally left. I drove home with trembling hands gripping the wheel. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear the traffic. When I walked into our apartment, Emma was at the kitchen table, calmly bent over a math worksheet. Pencil tapping, hair tucked behind one ear, she looked like any other seventh grader. "There was a reporter at the library today," I said carefully, setting down my bag. She asked about the Sterling case. Emma didn't even glance up. "They'll never connect it to me. I used 7 proxy servers and paid for all the anonymous accounts with crypto." "Emma." "It's fine, Mom." She scribbled down an answer. "The more coverage, the better. More victims will come forward." She flipped the page like this was any other homework assignment. "I've been monitoring the news. 12 families have already reported Rebecca's fraudulent investments." Her tone was casual, detached, like she was explaining a science project, not the federal case she had ignited. And it hit me again, the scale of what my daughter had done. My 12-year-old had triggered an investigation now protecting dozens of families. And she treated it like just another after-school activity. 3 weeks later, everything shifted. Emma received an email. A real offer. "Secure family," she explained, spinning her laptop toward me. "They tracked down my identity. They're inviting me into their youth development program. Full scholarship to any college I choose. Guaranteed job after graduation. Starting salary $120,000. I stared at the numbers on the screen.
My head swam.
"Emma, this is life-changing." "I know." She shut the laptop with a snap. "I'm turning it down." I blinked.
"What?"
"Why?" "Because they don't want to help people. They want to monetize fear. To own everything I create and package it into security software that lines their pockets." She crossed to the window, her small frame silhouetted in the fading light. "That's not what I'm here to do. I already have a job." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She dug into her backpack and handed me a sleek business card. E. Patterson, Family Financial Protection Consultant. My mouth went dry. The design was crisp, professional, convincing. "I've been helping families secure their finances for a month," she explained calmly. "I have 6 clients now. They pay me $75 an hour." I turned the card in my hand, stunned. "Emma, you're 13. How are you running a consulting business? Age doesn't matter online. They think I'm an adult specialist in digital security." She reopened her laptop, pulling up a spreadsheet of earnings. "I've already replaced most of my stolen college fund." The numbers were staggering. In 1 month, my daughter had made more than I earned in 3. "What kind of services?" I whispered. "I help families recognize financial red flags, secure accounts, file reports with authorities." Last week I helped a family in Ohio recover $30,000 their son stole from his grandmother's retirement. Is this even legal? Completely. I don't hack anything. I teach. I guide. I connect victims with the right channels. She minimized the screen and smirked. And next month, I'm speaking at a cybersecurity conference. I nearly choked. Speaking? As yourself? As Drive E. Patterson, Family Protection Specialist. I'll log in through encrypted video. Nobody will know my age. That night, I sat alone scrolling through articles about the Sterling case. The story had gone viral, shared, debated, dissected across every platform. The anonymous whistleblower was praised, hailed as a hero. But what gutted me were the comment threads. Dozens of strangers sharing their own stories of betrayal. Parents stealing from children. Spouses hiding assets. Grandparents robbed by their own kin. Emma had lit a fire. And no one knew the match had been struck by a girl barely tall enough to reach the top shelf in our kitchen. 2 months later, over dirty dinner plates, she asked me a question that stopped my heart. "Mom," she said, rinsing a dish with clinical precision, "do you think Dad ever regrets what he did?" The plate nearly slipped from my hands. It was the first time she'd said his name in weeks. "I don't know, sweetheart. Why do you ask?" "I've been watching his socials," she said evenly. "He posts about starting over, about better choices, but he never mentions us." She dried a glass and set it down with care. "I wonder if he realizes what he lost." I swallowed. "What do you think?" Emma paused, considering, her face unreadable. Then she said, "I think regret is just feeling sorry for yourself when you face consequences." "It's not the same as regret," I said softly. "Regret just means you feel bad. Understanding means you finally see why what you did was wrong. Do you want him to regret it?" Emma shook her head without hesitation.
No.
"I want him to understand. But I don't think he's capable of that kind of self-awareness." She folded the dish towel with practiced precision and hung it neatly on its hook. The gesture was final. For her, the conversation was done. Her father, her hurt, tucked away in a mental drawer she no longer needed to open. Spring arrived that year with a strange, healing warmth. The air carried hints of renewal, but in our home, something far greater was blooming. Emma's consulting business didn't just grow, it flourished. Her laptop became her workshop, her notebook a blueprint for justice. She built checklists for online security, guides for spotting forged documents, step-by-step instructions for families desperate to report financial crimes. One evening, she sat at the table, typing furiously, her eyes alight with purpose. "When I turn 18, I want to turn this into a nonprofit. A place where families can get protection for free, even if they can't afford private help." I watched her, both proud and brokenhearted. "That's a beautiful goal, Emma." She looked up at me, voice steady. "It started because of what Dad did to us. But it's bigger now. Too many families are betrayed by the people they trust most. Someone has to help them." Late one night, I was curled on the couch with a book when I heard her voice drifting down the hall. I paused outside her door, listening. "I know it's scary to find out your mom used your college fund," Emma said gently. "But you're going to be okay. I'll help you protect what's left. I'll make sure this never happens again."
Her voice was calm,
reassuring. Not the voice of a child, but of someone who had already survived the fire. I realized she wasn't talking to a client's parent. She was talking to another kid, a teenager whose life was being torn apart the same way ours had been. "The most important thing to remember," Emma continued, "is that this isn't your fault. Adults are supposed to protect children, not steal from them. When they don't, then we have to protect ourselves." I walked away from her door with tears blurring my vision. Not tears of sorrow, but of awe. Mark had tried to shatter us. Instead, he'd forged something unbreakable. Emma had taken betrayal and reshaped it into a mission. She was no longer just surviving her trauma, she was weaponizing it to shield others. The next morning, she came into the kitchen like any other 8th grader. Hair a little messy, backpack slung carelessly over one shoulder. She poured cereal, scrolled her phone, and rolled her eyes when I reminded her about the bus. But I knew better now. I saw beneath the surface, beneath the routine. She wasn't ordinary. Not anymore. She was extraordinary, carrying inside her the strength to take the worst thing that had ever happened to her and transform it into something powerful, something pure. Ready for school? I asked, kissing her forehead. Always, she said with a small smile. Then she paused, turning back before heading out the door. Oh, and Mom? I love you. It landed in my chest like sunlight. I love you too, sweetheart. I watched her walk down the street toward the bus stop. A girl with a backpack, sneakers scuffing the pavement. But to me, she was carrying far more than books. She was carrying our future. Mark's betrayal hadn't destroyed us. It had revealed us. It showed what we were made of. Emma hadn't just won justice. She had won her life back. And now she was using that victory to carve a safer path for countless other families. Mark could cling to his hollow, fresh start. Let him. We didn't need him anymore. Because from the broken pieces he left behind, Emma and I had built something infinitely more valuable. We had built hope. And Emma was already sharing it with the world.